3 weeks after their first encounter with the Zephyrian Empire, the crew of the Aurora finally received clearance to leave Imperial space. Captain Jake Martinez signed the departure documents with the same attention he gave to routine maintenance schedules, while Emperor Zarthok watched from his flagship with a mixture of relief and confusion. Dr. Lisa Wong had completed her analysis of the artificial asteroid formations and was preparing to submit her findings to multiple scientific journals. Her discovery of the ancient galactic navigation network would revolutionize human understanding of space travel and materials engineering. But Lisa was already looking forward to studying different geological formations in their next survey location. Lieutenant Paul Carter had optimized the navigation routes for the entire Imperial fleet and created efficient coordination protocols that would save the Empire significant time and fuel costs. He considered it good practice for managing complex logistics problems and had documented his methods for future reference. Engineer Amy Rodriguez had spent her final week working with Zephyrian technical specialists, sharing improvised engineering solutions while learning about their manufacturing techniques. She had compiled detailed notes about alien technology and was eager to experiment with new approaches to engine design when they returned to Earth. The diplomatic farewell ceremony took place aboard Emperor Zarthok's flagship, with representatives from dozens of Imperial departments attending to witness the departure of the most puzzling visitors in Imperial history. The humans attended the ceremony with the same polite attention they gave to safety briefings, treating it as a necessary formality before resuming their work. Captain Martinez, Emperor Zarthok began, "In 3 centuries of ruling this empire, I have never encountered beings like your crew. You have demonstrated capabilities that exceed our finest specialists, yet you show no desire to use these abilities for conquest or personal gain." "We're researchers," Jake replied simply. "Conquest and personal gain would interfere with our work. You have shared technological improvements that will benefit my entire empire, asking nothing in return. You have solved problems that have challenged our best minds for generations, treating them as routine exercises. You have shown no fear of our power and no interest in our wealth." Amy was studying the ceremonial decorations with professional interest. "The energy efficiency of your lighting systems could be improved by about 20% if you switched to distributed power networks." Paul was calculating the most efficient departure route that would minimize disruption to Imperial ship movements. "We should be able to clear your space within 6 hours if we use the navigation corridor I mapped yesterday." Emperor Zarthok continued his speech, but his tone had shifted from formal ceremony to genuine bewilderment. "My advisors have concluded that humans represent either the greatest threat or the greatest opportunity the Empire has ever encountered. Yet you treat our entire civilization as background noise to your asteroid research." "The asteroid research was really interesting," Lisa said via communication from the Aurora, where she was packing her mineral samples. "Those crystal formations are going to change everything we know about materials engineering. Dr. Wong's discoveries will benefit scientific communities across the galaxy," Jake added. "She's planning to publish everything in open-access journals so other researchers can build on her work. You will freely share knowledge that could reshape galactic civilization?" "That's how science works," Lisa replied. "You discover something new. You share it with everyone, and the accumulated knowledge benefits everyone." One of the Imperial science advisors stepped forward. "Dr. Wong, your research into the ancient navigation network has implications beyond materials science. This discovery suggests the existence of civilizations with capabilities far exceeding our own." "Probably," Lisa agreed. The engineering techniques required to build those crystal formations are thousands of years ahead of anything we've seen. I'm hoping other research teams will investigate the implications. Amy had finished her final technical consultation with the Imperial engineers. I've left detailed specifications for improving your ship designs. The modifications should increase performance while reducing maintenance costs. Paul completed his departure calculations and transmitted the navigation data to the Imperial fleet. I've optimized your formation patterns for maximum efficiency. You should see significant improvements in coordination and fuel consumption. Emperor Zarthok looked at his advisors, then back at the humans. You solve our problems, improve our technology, share revolutionary discoveries, and demonstrate superior capabilities. Then you leave to study more rocks. Well, there are a lot of interesting rock formations in the galaxy, Jake said. We've barely scratched the surface of geological research. Captain Martinez, I must ask one final question. What would it take for humans to become interested in galactic politics? Jake considered this seriously. Honestly, probably nothing. Politics is complicated and time-consuming, and it interferes with research work. We prefer to focus on learning things and discovering how the universe works. But what if political involvement could advance your research goals? Then we'd probably find a way to do the research without getting involved in politics. Amy's really good at finding creative solutions to logistical problems. Amy nodded in agreement. Politics seems inefficient. You spend a lot of time talking about doing things instead of actually doing them. Paul was reviewing their departure timeline. Captain, we should probably get moving. The next asteroid field is 3 days away, and I want to arrive on schedule. Emperor Zarthok made one final attempt to understand. Do you realize that you have fundamentally changed how this empire views the galaxy? Your casual dismissal of our power has forced us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about strength and civilization. That sounds like a positive development, Jake said encouragingly. Learning new perspectives is always valuable. You're not concerned about the political implications of first contact between our civilizations? Earth will probably send proper diplomats eventually, Jake replied. We'll file our contact reports and let the politicians figure out the formal relationships. That's their job. As the ceremony concluded, the humans returned to the Aurora with the same routine efficiency they brought to all their activities. They secured their equipment, filed their mission reports, and prepared for departure with no more fanfare than leaving a dock after refueling. Emperor Zarthok watched from his command center as the small human ship disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind only improved fleet protocols, revolutionary scientific discoveries, and a complete transformation of Imperial strategic thinking. Your Majesty, Admiral Kexitar said quietly. How should we classify this encounter in our official records? The Emperor stared at the empty space where the Aurora had been. File it under existential threats that don't realize they're threats. And our policy regarding future human contact? Full diplomatic immunity for any human vessel. Immediate assistance with whatever they're researching. And whatever you do, don't interfere with their work. Are they truly that dangerous, Your Majesty? Emperor Zarthok considered this question for a long moment. Admiral, they solved our most complex military scenarios while eating lunch. They improved our technology as a casual favor. They discovered evidence of ancient galactic civilizations and planned to share it freely with everyone. And they did all of this while treating our entire empire as a minor scheduling inconvenience. Yes, Your Majesty. Any species that can casually outperform our finest specialists while remaining completely unimpressed by galactic power is too dangerous to provoke and too valuable to alienate. We will treat all human vessels as honored guests and hope they continue to ignore our political existence. 6 months later, another human research vessel accidentally wandered into Imperial space while conducting a survey of stellar formation patterns. The Empire immediately provided full escort services, research assistance, and diplomatic immunity. The human crew thanked them politely, completed their stellar observations, and departed with the same casual indifference that had now become legendary throughout Imperial space. The second encounter lasted only 4 days, but it confirmed everything. The Empire had learned about humans. They were brilliant, helpful, completely uninterested in politics, and absolutely focused on their research objectives. They improved Imperial navigation systems as a gesture of appreciation, shared their stellar formation data freely, and left with barely a backward glance at the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. Emperor Zarthok established a new Imperial policy. Any human research vessel would receive immediate cooperation and support, with strict instructions that Imperial forces were not to interfere with human scientific activities under any circumstances. The policy was classified at the highest levels of Imperial security and became known as the Asteroid Protocol in honor of the first encounter. Dr. Lisa Wong's research papers revolutionized materials science across dozens of civilizations, leading to advances in construction, manufacturing, and space travel that benefited the entire galaxy. 2 weeks had passed since Emperor Zarthok's arrival, and the situation around the Aurora had become increasingly surreal. The Imperial fleet had grown to include over 100 ships, representing various departments of the Zephyrian government. Scientists, military strategists, cultural analysts, and diplomatic specialists had all arrived to study the humans who treated Galactic Empire like a minor workplace interruption. Dr. Lisa Wong had completed her analysis of the asteroid formations and made a discovery that excited her more than anything in her 20-year career. The artificial crystals weren't just engineered materials, they were information storage devices containing vast amounts of data about advanced engineering techniques. She had managed to decode small portions of the information, revealing construction, methods that could revolutionize space travel and energy production. Captain Jake Martinez found himself managing an increasingly complex diplomatic situation while trying to maintain his crew's focus on their mission. Every day brought new requests for meetings, demonstrations, and cultural exchanges from various Imperial departments. He had started scheduling them like routine maintenance appointments, fitting diplomatic obligations around the crew's research activities. Lieutenant Paul Carter had become fascinated by the challenge of coordinating ship movements for such a large fleet. He had volunteered to help the Imperial navigators optimize their formation patterns, treating it as an interesting logistics problem. His suggestions had improved fleet efficiency by 30%, earning him the respect of the Imperial Naval Command. Engineer Amy Rodriguez had been working closely with Zephyrian technical specialists, sharing her improvised engineering solutions while learning about their advanced manufacturing techniques. She had filled 8 notebooks with technical drawings and was considering writing a comparative analysis of human and alien engineering philosophies. On this particular morning, Jake was reviewing Lisa's latest research reports when Emperor Zarthok requested another meeting. This time, the tone was different from their previous conversations. Captain Martinez, I must confess that my empire faces a crisis of understanding regarding your species, the Emperor began. My advisors have developed dozens of theories about human motivations, but none adequately explain your behavior. What kind of theories? Jake asked, genuinely curious. Some believe you are advanced beings testing our worthiness. Others think you are masterful strategists hiding your true intentions. A few suggest you represent a civilization so powerful that you see our empire as beneath notice. Amy looked up from her engineering work. We're not hiding anything. We're exactly what we appear to be. Researchers from Earth studying asteroid formations. That explanation troubles my military commanders more than any other possibility, the Emperor replied. If beings can travel between stars for the simple purpose of studying rocks, what else might they be capable of? Paul was updating their navigation logs when he noticed unusual activity on his sensors. Captain, the Imperial ships are moving into some kind of formation. It looks like they're preparing for a demonstration. Jake pressed the communication button. Your Majesty, are your ships conducting exercises? Captain Martinez, I propose a test. My empire values strength, wisdom, and technological advancement. Perhaps if you demonstrated human capabilities in these areas, we could better understand your true nature. What kind of test? Jake asked, already suspecting he wouldn't like the answer. A simulation of space combat to assess your tactical abilities. An examination of your problem-solving skills. A comparison of our respective technologies. Amy shook her head. We're not a military vessel. We don't have weapons or combat training. Nevertheless, I am curious to see how humans approach challenges when they cannot simply ignore them. Jake considered this. The Emperor had been patient with their research activities for 2 weeks, and refusing a reasonable request might complicate their diplomatic situation. All right, but we'll need to use one of your simulation systems. The Aurora isn't equipped for combat scenarios. Excellent. Please prepare to transfer to my flagship. An hour later, Jake, Amy, and Paul found themselves in the Imperial Simulation Center, a massive chamber filled with holographic displays and control interfaces. Lisa had remained on the Aurora to continue her crystal analysis, claiming that simulated combat was less interesting than real science. Emperor Zarthok and his military advisors observed as the humans examined the simulation equipment. The scenario was designed to test tactical thinking under pressure, a small fleet defending a space station against overwhelming enemy forces. This is actually pretty similar to a logistics problem, Paul observed, studying the tactical display. You need to efficiently allocate limited resources against multiple threats. Amy was examining the simulated ship specifications. These weapon systems are over-engineered. You could get the same firepower with half the energy consumption if you simplified the targeting computers. Jake approached the simulation like any other work assignment. Okay, let's see what we're dealing with. The simulation began with enemy forces approaching from multiple directions. Traditional Imperial tactics called for establishing defensive formations and fighting a war of attrition. Instead, the humans treated it as an engineering problem. Paul analyzed the enemy movement patterns and identified inefficiencies in their approach routes. Amy calculated optimal power distribution for maximum mobility while maintaining weapons effectiveness. Jake coordinated their efforts like managing a research project, focusing on practical solutions rather than military doctrine. Within 30 minutes, they had achieved victory using tactics that completely baffled the Imperial observers. Instead of fighting the enemy fleet directly, they had identified weaknesses in the enemy logistics network and disrupted their supply lines. The enemy forces had been forced to retreat without a major battle. Emperor Zarthok stared at the simulation. Results. How did you accomplish this? Our best military strategists require hours to achieve victory in this scenario. We ignored the weapons and focused on the math, Jake explained. Space combat is really just applied physics and resource management. Amy was still studying the simulation parameters. Your enemy AI follows predictable patterns. If you randomized their behavior algorithms, the simulation would be more challenging. Paul had been analyzing the tactical display. The whole scenario assumes that both sides want to fight, but most conflicts have underlying causes that could be addressed more efficiently than through combat. One of the Imperial military advisors stepped forward. You approach warfare as if it were a technical problem to be solved rather than a test of strength and courage. Well, it is a technical problem, Amy replied. You have limited resources, specific objectives, and environmental constraints. The emotional aspects just make it harder to think clearly. The Emperor requested additional tests throughout the day. The humans approached each challenge with the same practical methodology they used for their research work. They solved complex mathematical problems by breaking them into manageable components. They analyzed technological puzzles by identifying the underlying principles and working backwards to practical solutions. By the end of the day, they had completed every test, with results that exceeded Imperial expectations, while treating the entire exercise as routine problem-solving work. I must ask, Emperor Zarthok said as they prepared to return to the Aurora, do you understand the significance of what you have accomplished today? We solved some puzzles and helped improve your simulation software, Jake replied. It was interesting, but I wouldn't call it significant. You have demonstrated capabilities that my Empire's finest specialists cannot match, yet you show no pride in these achievements. Amy shrugged. We're pretty good at figuring things out. That's why we became scientists. Paul was already thinking about returning to his navigation work. The real challenge will be updating our mission reports to include all these diplomatic activities. Earth is going to wonder why a routine asteroid survey took so long. As they returned to the Aurora, Emperor Zarthok remained on his flagship, staring at the test results and trying to understand beings who could casually outperform his Empire's best specialists while treating the entire experience as a minor workplace task. That evening, Lisa shared her latest discovery with the crew. She had decoded enough of the crystal information to understand its purpose. The artificial asteroids were waymarkers, part of a navigation network built by an ancient civilization to guide travelers between distant galaxies. The humans had accidentally discovered evidence of engineering capabilities that made the Zephyrian Empire look primitive by comparison, but Lisa was most excited about the implications for materials science research. The crystal formation techniques could revolutionize human technology if anyone back on Earth was interested in building things instead of just studying them. Jake updated his mission reports, noting that their routine asteroid survey had unexpectedly led to first contact with an alien empire and the discovery of an ancient galactic navigation network. He marked it as an interesting week and started planning their departure schedule. The business of science continued, even in the shadow of galactic politics. The diplomatic meeting aboard the Zephyrian flagship had lasted exactly 57 minutes, and Captain Jake Martinez was pleased that they had stayed within their lunch break schedule. Counselor Velana had shown them impressive technology. Demonstrations, offered detailed explanations of Imperial benefits, and presented formal treaties that would have made Earth a protected member of the galactic community. The humans had listened politely, asked technical questions about the equipment, and declined everything with the same casual attitude they might use to refuse an extended warranty on a household appliance. Amy Rodriguez had spent most of the meeting taking notes about the ship's engineering systems, occasionally asking if she could examine their power distribution networks more closely. Paul Carter had been impressed by their navigation computers, but pointed out several ways their Star charts could be more efficiently organized. Jake had thanked everyone for their hospitality and requested permission to return to their asteroid research. Now, 1 week after that meeting, the Aurora remained surrounded by alien ships, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Instead of threats and demands, the humans were receiving increasingly confused communications from Imperial officers who seemed unable to understand what they were dealing with. Dr. Lisa Wong had made extraordinary progress on her mineral analysis, discovering that the asteroids contained crystalline structures that appeared to be artificially created. She was so excited by the findings that she had started working 20-hour days, stopping only when Amy physically brought food to her lab and reminded her to sleep. The breakthrough had come when Lisa realized that the crystal formations were too perfect to be natural. They showed signs of deliberate engineering with molecular structures that could efficiently store and transmit energy. She had documented everything carefully, preparing to publish her findings in the Journal of Xenogeology when they returned to Earth. Jake was reviewing Lisa's preliminary reports when the communication system activated with a new voice. This one carried an authority that made even Admiral Kextar's commands seem casual. "Attention, human vessel. This is Emperor Zarthok of the Zephyrian Empire. I have come to personally address this unprecedented situation." Paul looked up from his navigation station. The Emperor himself? That seems like overkill for a routine first contact. Jake pressed the communication button. "Your Majesty, this is Captain Martinez. It's an honor to meet you. I hope we haven't caused too much trouble." "Captain Martinez, I have ruled this empire for 3 centuries. In that time, I have encountered thousands of species across 10,000 systems. Never have I met beings who respond to Imperial contact with such indifference." "We're not indifferent," Jake replied. "We're just focused on our work. Dr. Wong has made some incredible discoveries about these asteroids, and we want to finish the analysis properly." Amy was monitoring the sensor readings. From the Emperor's ship, it was massive, easily 100 times larger than the Aurora, with energy signatures that suggested technology far beyond anything they had previously encountered. She was filling another notebook with technical observations. "Most species either flee in terror from our forces or desperately seek our protection and alliance," the Emperor continued. "You do neither. You simply continue your activities as if the most powerful empire in the galaxy were a minor inconvenience." "Well, you are kind of holding us up," Jake admitted. "We had planned to move on to the next asteroid field yesterday, but all these diplomatic meetings have put us behind schedule." There was a long silence before the Emperor spoke again. "Captain Martinez, do you understand that I command fleets capable of destroying entire star systems? That my empire spans distances your species cannot even comprehend?" "That sounds like a lot of responsibility," Jake said sympathetically. "Managing 10,000 systems must be exhausting. Do you get much time for research?" Amy leaned over to Paul and whispered, "Their ship design is amazing. Look at how they've integrated the weapon systems with the propulsion grid." Paul nodded, studying the sensor readings. "The navigation array alone is bigger than our entire ship. I wonder how they coordinate jumps across such distances." Lisa's voice came over the internal communication system. "Captain, could you ask His Majesty if the Empire has encountered artificially created asteroid formations before? I'm seeing engineering patterns that suggest advanced molecular manipulation." Jake pressed the communication button. "Your Majesty, our chief scientist would like to know if your people have experience with artificially engineered asteroids." Another long pause. "You wish to discuss asteroid engineering with the Emperor of the Zephyrian Empire? Dr. Wong has made some remarkable discoveries. She thinks these asteroids might have been created by an unknown civilization using technology to build crystal structures at the molecular level. And this is more important to you than the political implications of first contact with my empire? Jake considered this. Well, the political stuff will get sorted out eventually, but scientific discoveries are rare and valuable. We might not get another chance to study formations like these. Amy was now completely absorbed in analyzing the Emperor's ship. Captain, their engineering is incredible, but I'm seeing some design inefficiencies that could be improved. Their power coupling systems are overcomplicated. Paul was updating their mission logs. Should I file a report about meeting an emperor? What's the proper classification for that? Just put it under diplomatic contacts, Jake suggested. Keep it simple. The emperor's voice returned, now carrying a tone of complete bewilderment. I have consulted with my most trusted advisors, my military commanders, and my diplomatic corps. None of them can explain your behavior. You show no fear of our weapons, no desire for our technology, and no interest in our vast empire. What do you want? Honestly, we just want to finish our asteroid survey and go home, Jake replied. We've been out here for 3 months and the crew is looking forward to seeing their families again. Your families are more important to you than galactic power? Of course. We're not really interested in power. We're interested in learning things and discovering how the universe works. Amy looked up from her engineering analysis. Captain, I think I could help them improve their engine efficiency by about 15%. Should I offer? Why not? It might be useful. Jake pressed the communication button again. Your Majesty, our engineer has been studying your ship designs, and she thinks she might be able to help you improve your engine performance. The silence this time lasted for several minutes. When the Emperor finally spoke, his voice was strained. You offer to improve Imperial technology? Amy's really good with engines, Jake explained. She's always finding ways to make things work better. Amy activated her own communication channel. Your Majesty, your power distribution system is impressive, but you're losing efficiency through redundant coupling networks. If you simplified the energy flow patterns, you could probably increase performance significantly while reducing maintenance requirements. You would share this knowledge freely? Sure. Good engineering benefits everyone. Paul was tracking the movements of all the Imperial ships. Captain, they're not maintaining standard formation patterns anymore. It looks like they're just sitting. They're trying to figure out what to do with us. Lisa's voice came over the communication system again. I've confirmed it. These asteroids are definitely artificial. Someone built them using molecular engineering techniques that are beyond anything we've seen before. This is going to revolutionize our understanding of advanced material science. Jake smiled. See, Your Majesty, this is exactly why we needed to finish our research. Dr. Wong has discovered evidence of a previously unknown civilization with incredible technological capabilities. And you plan to share this information as well? Of course. That's how science works. You discover something new, you publish the results, and everyone learns from it. The Emperor's voice now sounded completely defeated. 3 centuries of ruling an empire, and I have never encountered beings like you. You possess knowledge that could benefit my entire civilization, and you offer it freely. You show no fear of our power and no desire for our wealth. You treat the might of the Zephyrian Empire as a scheduling inconvenience. We really don't mean to be rude, Jake said. We appreciate everything you've shown us, and we're grateful for your hospitality. But we're scientists, and this is what we do. We study things, we learn from them, and we share what we've learned. Amy was still working on her engineering recommendations. I'm putting together some technical specifications that might help with their ship designs. Should I transmit them? Go ahead, Jake said. It's the least we can do after they've been so patient with us. As Amy began transmitting her engineering improvements to the Imperial fleet, Paul noticed something interesting on his sensors. Captain, the alien ships are implementing her modifications. Their engine efficiency just improved by exactly 14.7%. The Emperor's voice returned one final time that day, now sounding almost philosophical. Perhaps there are things more powerful than empires, Captain Martinez. Perhaps there are forces in the universe that cannot be conquered or controlled. Like curiosity, Jake suggested. 3 days had passed since the Aurora first encountered the Zephyrian Empire, and the human crew had settled into a routine that completely ignored the 20 alien warships surrounding them. Dr. Lisa Wong had made remarkable progress on her asteroid analysis, discovering mineral formations that she was certain had never been seen before. She was so excited about her findings that she had started working 18-hour days, stopping only when Amy Rodriguez physically brought food to her lab. Captain Jake Martinez had established a schedule of brief daily communications with Admiral Kextar, treating them like routine diplomatic check-ins rather than prisoner negotiations. The conversations always followed the same pattern. The Admiral would demand surrender, Jake would politely explain they were almost finished with their research, and both sides would agree to continue the standoff for another day. Lieutenant. Paul Carter had used the time to run a complete diagnostic on all the ship's systems, something he had been meaning to do for months. The Aurora was performing better than it had in years, and Paul was considering writing a technical paper about the benefits of routine maintenance during extended space operations. Amy Rodriguez had spent her time making small improvements to the ship's engines and studying the alien vessels through the sensors. She was particularly impressed by their power distribution systems and had filled 3 notebooks with technical sketches and calculations. The fact that these aliens could travel between star systems at incredible speeds fascinated her far more than their threats of destruction. On the 4th morning, Paul detected a much larger group of ships approaching their location. These vessels were even more impressive than Admiral Kextar's fleet, with elaborate decorations and energy signatures that suggested advanced technology beyond anything the first ships had displayed. Captain, we're about to have more company, Paul announced from his navigation station. Jake looked up from the mission reports he was updating. More warships? These look different, bigger, fancier. The computer is reading some kind of ceremonial markings on the hull of the largest one. Amy came up from the engine room, where she had been installing a more efficient cooling system. Maybe they're sending someone more important to talk to us. As long as they don't interrupt Lisa's work, Jake said. She's been making incredible progress on those crystal formations. The new fleet took positions around the Aurora, and soon the communication system activated with a new voice. This one was smoother and more cultured than Admiral Kextar's military tone. Greetings, humans, of the vessel Aurora. I am Counselor Velana, Chief Diplomatic Representative of the Zephyrian Empire. I have been sent by His Imperial Majesty to establish proper relations between our civilizations. Jake pressed the communication button. Hello, Counselor Velana. I'm Captain Martinez. It's nice to meet someone interested in talking rather than threatening. I apologize for any misunderstandings that may have occurred during your initial contact with our forces. The Empire wishes to extend an offer of friendship and alliance to your people. That's very kind of you, Jake replied. Though I should Mention that we're just a research crew. We don't really have the authority to make alliances on behalf of Earth. Paul leaned over to Jake and whispered, "Should we mention that Earth doesn't even know we met aliens yet?" Jake shook his head slightly and continued talking to the counselor. "What kind of alliance did you have in mind?" "The Empire offers your species advanced technology, protected trade routes, and the safety that comes with Imperial citizenship. In return, we ask only for friendship and cooperation in maintaining galactic peace." Amy looked interested for the first time since the aliens arrived. "Advanced technology? What kind of technology?" "Our scientists have developed faster-than-light communication systems, matter converters that can create any substance from base elements, and medical treatments that can extend life indefinitely. We offer to share these gifts with humanity." There was a moment of silence on the bridge. Then Lisa's voice came over the internal communication system from her lab. "Could you ask them if they have any information about crystalline structures in asteroid formations? I'm seeing some patterns here that don't match anything in our databases." Jake pressed the communication button. "Counselor, our chief scientist would like to know if your people have studied asteroid mineral formations." "Of course. Our geological surveys span thousands of systems. We would be happy to share our databases with your researcher." "That would be wonderful," Jake said. "Lisa will be thrilled. But regarding the alliance offer, we appreciate the gesture, but we're really just here to study rocks. We don't need protected trade routes or anything like that." Counselor Velana's voice showed a hint of confusion. "Captain Martinez, perhaps you do not understand the magnitude of what we are offering. The Zephyrian Empire controls 10,000 star systems. Our technology could advance your civilization by thousands of years. Your people could become part of something greater than they have ever imagined." "I'm sure it's very impressive," Jake replied. "But honestly, we're pretty happy, just doing research and learning about the universe. We don't really want to control star systems or anything like that." Amy was studying the sensor readings from the diplomatic ships. "Captain, their engines are definitely more advanced than ours, but the basic principles seem familiar. I bet we could figure out how they work if we had enough time to study them." Paul was updating their star charts with the positions of all the alien vessels. From a navigation standpoint, having 10,000 systems to visit would require serious logistical planning. The paperwork alone would be overwhelming. Counselor Velana tried again. "Perhaps we could arrange a formal meeting aboard my flagship. I could show you examples of our technology and explain the benefits of Imperial citizenship in greater detail." Jake considered this. "Would it take long?" "We're hoping to finish our asteroid survey in the next couple of days, and I don't want to delay the mission unnecessarily." "The meeting could be arranged at your convenience, Captain. We are prepared to accommodate your schedule." "All right, but could we do it during our lunch break? The crew has been working pretty hard, and I don't want to cut into their research time." There was a longer pause before Counselor Velana responded. "Your lunch break?" "Sure. We usually take about an hour around midday to eat and discuss our findings. Would that work for you?" "I suppose that would be acceptable. Shall we say in 2 hours?" "Perfect. Should we bring anything? We have some really good sandwich rations." Another pause. "That will not be necessary, Captain. The Empire will provide appropriate refreshments." After the communication ended, Amy shook her head in amazement. "They want to give us technology that could advance our civilization by thousands of years, and you're worried about scheduling conflicts." "Well, we do have a job to do," Jake replied. "Besides, how advanced can their technology really be? They still haven't figured out a way to get us to stop studying asteroids." Paul was preparing a shuttle for the diplomatic meeting. "Should I pack anything special for meeting the representatives of a galactic empire?" Just bring your notebook, Jake said, and maybe ask Lisa if she wants us to bring any of her mineral samples to show them. Lisa's voice came over the communication system again. Can you ask them about their crystal analysis techniques? I'm getting some readings that suggest these asteroids might have been formed under conditions that shouldn't be possible in this part of space. I'll add it to the list of questions, Jake replied. Amy was still studying the alien ships. You know, for all their talk about advanced technology, their hull designs show some inefficiencies that we could probably help them fix. Maybe you can mention that during the meeting, Jake suggested. Paul finished his preparations and looked up at Jake. Captain, do you think we should be taking this more seriously? I mean, they do have enough firepower to destroy us pretty easily. Jake considered this. Paul, we're scientists on a research mission. We're not politicians or military officers. We do our job, we're polite to everyone we meet, and we try to learn something new every day. If they want to blow us up for that, there's not much we can do about it. Amy nodded in agreement. Besides, anyone who gets upset about people studying rocks probably has bigger problems than we can solve. The next 2 hours passed quickly as the crew continued their normal activities. Lisa made another breakthrough in her crystal analysis, discovering what appeared to be artificial structures within the mineral formations. Amy finished her engine improvements and started sketching designs for more efficient alien ship configurations. Paul updated their mission logs and prepared reports on their unexpected diplomatic contact. When the time came for the meeting, Jake took the shuttle over to the alien flagship accompanied by Amy and Paul. Lisa stayed behind to continue her research, sending along a list of technical questions about alien geological survey methods. As they approached the massive diplomatic vessel, Paul whistled in appreciation. Now that's a nice ship. Look at those hull curves. Amy was taking notes on the ship's design. The power grid layout is fascinating. I wonder if they'd be willing to trade technical specifications. Jake just hoped the meeting wouldn't take too long. They still had a lot of asteroids to analyze. The research ship Aurora moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Captain Jake Martinez sat in his chair on the bridge, watching the screen that showed nothing but empty blackness and distant points of light. His crew had been out here for 3 months now, looking for asteroids that might have useful metals and minerals. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Dr. Lisa Wong was down in the science lab, bent over her computer and totally focused on the rock samples they had collected yesterday. She had been like this for hours, not even stopping to eat lunch. Lisa loved rocks more than most people loved their families. When she found something interesting in a sample, she would get so excited that she would forget where she was. Lieutenant Paul Carter was checking their position on the navigation computer. They were about 200 light years from Earth, in a region that all the star maps said was empty. No planets, no space stations, no other ships, just asteroids floating around a small yellow star. Paul liked it that way because it meant no complications and no paperwork. Engineer Amy Rodriguez was in the engine room, making sure everything was running properly. The Aurora was not a fancy ship, but Amy kept it working with spare parts and clever fixes. She could make anything work with some wire and determination. The other crew members often joked that Amy could probably fix a broken planet if she had enough coffee and the right tools. Jake looked at the time and realized they had been working for 16 hours straight. The asteroid field they were studying was rich with rare metals, and the crew wanted to finish the survey before moving on to the next location. He was about to call for a break when Paul suddenly sat up straight at his station. "Captain, I'm getting some strange readings on the sensors," Paul said, frowning at his screen. What kind of strange? Jake asked, not really worried. Strange readings usually meant equipment problems or space debris. Multiple ships approaching fast. Really fast. And they're big, Paul replied, his voice getting more concerned. Jake stood up and walked over to look at Paul's screen. There were, indeed, several objects moving toward them at incredible speed. They were still too far away to see clearly, but the computer estimated they would arrive in less than 10 minutes. Any idea who they might be? Jake asked. Paul shook his head. The computer doesn't recognize the ship designs, but Captain, there are at least 20 of them, and some are huge, like bigger than anything we've ever built. Jake pressed the communication button. Dr. Wong, Amy, please come to the bridge. We might have visitors. A few minutes later, Lisa arrived looking annoyed at being interrupted. She was still holding a rock sample in one hand and had mineral dust on her lab coat. Amy came up from the engine room wiping her hands on a dirty rag. What's the problem? Amy asked. The engines are running fine. Jake pointed at the main screen, which now showed the approaching ships more clearly. They were sleek and silver, with designs that looked nothing like human technology. The largest ship was easily 10 times the size of the Aurora. Unknown alien vessels, and they're heading straight for us, Jake said calmly. Lisa looked at the screen for a moment, then checked her watch. How long do you think this will take? I have 3 more samples to analyze before dinner. Before anyone could answer, the communication system crackled to life with a voice speaking in perfect English, though with a strange accent. Unknown vessel, you have entered the sovereign territory of the Zephyrian Empire. Prepare to be boarded for inspection and questioning. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction. The bridge fell quiet for a moment. Amy was the first to speak. Well, that's rude. We didn't even know this was anyone's territory. Jake pressed the communication button. This is Captain Martinez of the human research vessel Aurora. We're conducting a peaceful scientific survey of this asteroid field. We had no knowledge that this area belonged to anyone. We're happy to leave once we finish our work. There was a long pause before the alien voice replied. You will cease all activities immediately and submit to Imperial authority. Failure to comply will result in the obliteration of your vessel. Lisa sighed loudly. Look, I really need to finish analyzing these samples while they're still fresh. Can we maybe schedule this whole Empire thing for next week? I promise we'll be done here in about 6 hours. Paul stared at her. Lisa, they just threatened to blow us up. Yes, but that would be very inconvenient right now, Lisa replied, as if discussing the weather. I'm right in the middle of discovering what might be a completely new type of crystal formation. The alien ships had now surrounded the Aurora. They were beautiful in a way, with flowing lines and surfaces that seemed to shimmer with their own light. But they also had very obvious weapons pointed at the human ship. The communication system activated again. Your response is unacceptable. You will prepare for boarding immediately. Jake thought for a moment. Look, we're just scientists doing research. We don't want any trouble. But my crew has spent 3 months getting to this location, and we really would like to finish our work. Is there someone in charge we could talk to about this? Amy was looking at the alien ships with professional interest. Their engine design is pretty impressive. I wonder how they get that kind of speed without tearing the ships apart. Another voice came over the communication system, deeper and more authoritative than the first. I am Admiral Kekstar of the Imperial Fleet. You are trespassing in Imperial space without permission. This is an act of war. War seems like a pretty strong word for what we're doing, Jake replied. We're basically just collecting rocks. Very interesting rocks, but still just rocks. The nature of your activities is irrelevant. You have violated imperial sovereignty. You will surrender your vessel or be destroyed. Lisa looked up from the rock sample she was still examining. Could you keep it down? I'm trying to concentrate here. The Admiral's voice became even more stern. Do you not understand the gravity of your situation? You face the might of the Zephyrian Empire, masters of 10,000 star systems. That's very impressive, Jake said politely. But we're really just here for the asteroids. We don't have any interest in your empire or your star systems. We just want to finish our geological survey and go home. There was another long pause. Then Admiral Kextar spoke again, and he sounded confused. You show no fear of our weapons. You make no attempt to flee. You request permission to continue your trivial activities in the face of imperial power. What manner of beings are you? Amy looked up from her examination of the alien ships. We're humans. We do science. It's kind of our thing. And right now, the science is telling us that these asteroids have some really unusual mineral compositions, Lisa added, without looking up from her sample, which is why finishing the survey is important. Paul was still monitoring the alien ships. Captain, they're not moving to attack. They're just sitting there. Jake nodded. Admiral Kextar, we appreciate that you have an empire to run and territories to protect, but we're not invaders or conquerors. We're researchers from Earth, and we travel around looking at rocks and learning things. If you want us to leave after we finish our work, that's fine. We just need a little more time. The silence stretched on for several minutes. Finally, Admiral Kextar's voice returned, now sounding uncertain. You will remain in position. Do not attempt to leave. I must consult with higher authority about this unprecedented situation. No problem, Jake replied. We'll be right here analyzing samples. Let us know when you figured things out. As the communication ended, Amy shook her head. 10,000 star systems, and they can't handle 4 humans with a rock collection. This should be interesting.